The Unix shell, on MARCC. The main objectives of this tutorial are to create a MARCC account, set up two-factor authentication, connect to MARCC via SSH, and complete setup for the Unix shell lesson. Create an account. The Maryland Advanced Research Computing Center, or MARCC for short, provides resources for high-performance computing. This collaboration between Johns Hopkins University and University of Maryland at College Park was established in 2015 with the help of a grant from the state of Maryland. Importantly, MARCC is free to use for PIs as the cost is paid for by the deans at participating schools. The initial deployment allowed almost 20,000 analyses to be performed simultaneously. In addition to general-purpose computing, specialized machines provide large memory and access to specialized graphical processors. To create an account, click on Request Access in the menu bar and select User Account Request. This screen will give you some important information, including how much data storage space you are allocated. You must fill out all the required fields in this form. Note that your contact email must contain your JED ID. These are in the format of your first initial followed by your last name and then a number. For this bootcamp, you will be using a special allocation for the class. Thus, for your username you must prefix your JED ID with the letter S followed by a hyphen. In this case, S stands for student. Similarly, for the sponsor email, be sure to prefix with the letter T for teacher. For the purposes of this bootcamp, Rajiv McCoy will be your sponsor. After submitting your request, wait for an email indicating that your account was created. This may take up to a day. Make sure the email is not simply an automatic reply but states that your user account has been created on MARCC. Once you receive this email, proceed to the next section to set up your two-factor authentication. Set up two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is a way to verify the identity of a person using two pieces of information such as a password and a cell phone. Many services such as banking and HPCs now offer or require two-factor authentication to prevent unauthorized use. To set up two-factor authentication on MARCC, click on Getting Started and select Connecting to MARCC. Install the Google Authenticator app on your smartphone. Once you have installed Google Authenticator on your phone, open the app and note the plus icon. In a moment, you will tap on this button to scan your QR code from the MARCC website. Now return to the MARCC website and click on the next link to retrieve your QR code to synchronize your phone. This will open a page asking for your MARCC username. Your username should start with an S, followed by a dash, then your JED ID, and finally at jhu.edu. The password is the one you entered when you submitted your account request. After successfully logging into the password website, you will be presented with a QR code. Open Google Authenticator on your phone and tap on the plus icon to scan the QR barcode using your phone camera. If you are successful, a new entry should appear that shows MARCC and your username. Connect to MARCC. We previously discussed that high-performance computer clusters provide access to many computational resources. In addition to raw hardware like CPU, memory, and storage, these clusters also house large amounts of data and pre-installed computational software. As the actual computations are performed on the clusters, you can submit and monitor your analysis from any computing device ranging from desktops and laptops to even tablets and phones. This allows you the nice ability to start an analysis at one location, for example work, and continue it at another location, for example home. You will practice sending commands to MARCC using a protocol called SSH. This interaction will be text-based, meaning that your commands and the computer response will be character-based rather than graphic-based. Establishing an SSH connection will vary depending on the computer you are using. For example, on a Mac you will start a program called terminal.app. On newer Windows machines, you can simply start the command prompt, while on older Windows machines you may have to use a program like PuTTY. Please refer to the SSH preparation guide that your TAs have prepared for more details for your specific situation. For the remainder of this section, we will demonstrate what an SSH connection will look like on a Mac or other Unix-based machine. Text-based interfaces are also referred to as command line interfaces. With these interfaces, one of the first things to pay attention to is the prompt. Briefly, a prompt indicates that the computer is ready for your next command. In this case, the prompt is a $sign. If you don't see it, then the computer is busy doing other things and you will not be able to submit another command in this window. Commands are like sentences. Every command needs a verb and can include nouns and adjectives. Additionally, like sentences, spaces tell you where one word begins and one word ends. In this interface, the verb is the first word after the prompt. Here, the word SSH will start the SSH program after you press the Enter key. Note that we also provide two additional pieces of information: your login name and the server address. Be sure to prefix your login username with a dash followed by a lowercase l. Once you have typed this all in, press the Enter key. If successful, you will be prompted to enter a verification code. This is the code displayed by Google Authenticator. Note that this code changes every 30 seconds, so you will need to check it every time you connect to MARCC. While typing in the 6 digits, nothing will appear on the screen as a security measure. After you enter your code, press the Enter key. Afterwards, you will be prompted for your password. Similarly, nothing you type will appear. If successful, you will see a new prompt that contains your login name as well as the particular MARCC node to which you are connected. Type in your first command on MARCC, the letters L and S to list the files in your home directory. After pressing Enter, you should see 4 directories: code, data, scratch, and work. If you see this, then you're ready to move on to the next section. If you don't, please ask for help on Slack. The Unix shell setup. The software carpentry schedule estimates that this lesson may take up to 4.5 hours to complete in its entirety. Before starting, we need to do one final set of instructions based on the setup section. Importantly, we need to download and unpack the contents of datashell.zip into a directory named desktop. To do this, first click the link to bring up a contextual menu. Select Copy Link Address. Now return to your SSH session and confirm that you are in the correct location. Do this by typing cd and then pressing Enter to change directory back to your home directory. Confirm that this is the case by typing in ls and then Enter. You should see the 4 directories we saw previously. Make a directory named desktop by typing in the command mkdir space desktop. Note that file and directory names are case-sensitive and that desktop should start with a capital D. Verify that this was successful by listing the files. You should now see 5 directories including desktop. Change directory into the desktop directory and confirm that it is emptying by entering the list command. You will use a program called wget to download the file to your MARCC account. Type in wget and then paste the link that you copied previously from the Software Carpentry website. After pressing Enter, you should see the transfer progress ending with 100% saved. Confirm that the file transferred by listing files. You should see only the file data-shell.zip. Uncompress the file by running the command unzip space data-shell.zip. Confirm one final time that everything is set up correctly by changing back to your home directory by entering the command cd and listing the files in the desktop directory by entering the command ls space desktop. Again, if you see this, then you're ready to move on to the next section. If you don't, please ask for help on Slack. You should now be ready to complete the Unix shell lesson. Part 2. Navigating files and directories is the first place that assumes the contents of datashell.zip are in a directory named desktop. You will encounter it in this list command showing the size of the files in the data subdirectory. In this tutorial, we created a MARCC account, set up two-factor authentication, connected to MARCC via SSH, and completed setup for the Unix shell lesson. Some possible next steps are to complete the Unix shell lesson and learn more about MARCC and cluster computing. Thank you to all the people that helped.